95.3 WBCK now presents Coach's Corner, live from Lakeview Ford. For over 6 decades, this has been your number one source for all local sports information. Coach's Corner is proudly presented by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now, here's your host, Bill Broderick.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, in the big chair once again on WBCK for Coach's Corner in downtown Battle Creek. We are at Lakeview Ford on the Motor Mile. For more than 6 decades, Coach's Corner has been talking to the city high school coaches about the week in sports, and we will continue that as we head into the boys basketball season with our first Coach of the Morning. But first, here's the Lakeview Ford Coach's Corner scoreboard. The boys' hoop season began this week with most of the teams in action. Tuesday was opening night for a lot of the teams. In our game of the night at the Enquirer, the St. Philip Tigers hosted Bronson in the season opener for both teams, with the Tigers losing 66-48. They got down big early, but rallied in the second half, but that effort came up a little short. Also on Tuesday, Harbor Creek opened at home and lost to St. Joe, 53-47. Penfield also opened on Tuesday and lost to Williamston, 53-38. In the area, Marshall beat Eaton Rapids in a cross-conference contest, 61-49. And Galesburg Augusta got past Climax Scots, 51-28. Continuation of action later in the week. Harbor Creek played a second game already on Thursday, and they lost to Matawan, 67-60. Friday night hoops got going last night as a big crowd at Lakeview enjoyed a Lakeview versus Marshall game. Marshall got up 10 in the third quarter, but Lakeview rallied, had a 16-0 spurt there, and came back and won 53-46. Penfield was in non-conference action and lost to Bronson, 53-47. Battle Creek Central didn't play all week, so you're not seeing any scores from them, but they will open next week against Jackson. We'll be coming back with our first Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
That's Bill Broderick of the Battle Creek Enquirer back here on Coach's Corner. We're back here with our first Coach of the Morning, Coach Burns of the Penfield Panthers. How's it going, Coach?
Good morning, Bill. Good to be here.
We had a full week of play for the Penfield Panthers. You guys were able to get games both on Tuesday and Friday. Let's first talk about the preseason, how that kind of went for you, and how you guys felt coming into the year, and the kind of challenges that you guys had coming in.
Yeah, so short 2-week time frame. We kind of talked about that a little bit on the season preview part, and then you combine Thanksgiving as part of that 2 weeks. So there's challenges that everybody had to kind of face, and you're kind of picking and choosing things you're going to prioritize within those 2 weeks. And we felt that we were as good as or ready as we could have been Tuesday night. A lot of inexperience coming in, so we didn't know exactly what we would see as far as production on the floor Tuesday night. But getting to Tuesday was good. Guys were excited and ready to go.
You played a Williamston team. Williamston has had a pretty good run the last several years. We've seen them in the postseason against some of our area teams. Talk about Williamston a little bit and what they kind of brought to the floor, and you guys lost to them 53-38, but the game seemed to close for a while, and then they kind of pulled away. Is that right?
Yeah. We got off to a little bit slow start. I think, first game jitters, varsity level experience, for the 5 starters, really hadn't seen the floor much at all on the varsity side. So a little tight early on. Execution wasn't great. Proud of the guys. They fought, never gave up. Got second half, got it down to 6, down 11 at halftime. Got it to 6 a couple of different times in the second half. And then with about a minute and a half left, we're trying to press and get a couple quick shots and unforced turnovers that they kind of turned into quick points. So Lost by 15, but it was closer than that in the second half. But, the guys fought hard and learned a lot about ourselves that night and just the will to compete on the floor. So it's part of the guys who are staying in at Tuesday.
Yeah, everyone has a couple of weeks of practice to get going, and you kind of know what you have. But then when you get into that first game, sometimes you find out that some other things that you have maybe you didn't know, and some other guys kind of step up. Did you see some signs there? Some guys that kind of stepped up in that first game that you liked what you saw and maybe can build on a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I thought point guard Zach Walling really played well. Kind of playing. You really hasn't had that responsibility before. I was kind of getting everything organized. So that's a learning in progress, and I thought he played well Tuesday night. Jonathan Lake, sophomore, first varsity game. He's a physical presence, and he played well for us. So as we adjust to the pace and physicality of this level, I think we'll see some strides out of those guys coming forward.
Then you move ahead and you had a couple of days of practice, and then you end up playing Bronson on Friday. I saw Bronson on Tuesday playing against St. Phil, and they have a couple of good shooters, especially the point guard that they have is slippery and can knock down a shot. And you guys, that game was close also for a little while, and then you guys fell behind late. And what are the challenges or what are the kind of situation they saw on Friday that kind of had you guys falling behind a little bit? Yeah,
Bronson, a tough-nosed, quick, athletic team. Well coached, switching up, defenses throughout. So they played well, played a lot of energy. The point guard played well last night. But last night, as far as our side, really wasn't about basketball. It's about some self-inflicted adversity that we kind of had to go through these last couple of days as a team. So it was really about the 7 guys last night that are committed and are willing to embrace the student-athlete part of sports. So those guys, Aiden Govier, Brevin Bailey, Johnny Lake, Calvin Paysons, Jason Mejia, Braden Sturhan, and Zach Walling. I appreciate those guys' effort. There's a reason that the basketball is a team sport, and for us, for Penfield, that is 1 through 12, and when we can't get commitment from a full team, it's tough. And so we had guys playing out of position last night, and they gave it their all. We're 2 games into the season, and it seems like we're already at a crossroads to kind of figure out what the commitment level and embracing the student part of athletes. And so I know I'm a little bit on soapbox, so all those 17 people out there that are listening to me right now, I apologize, but it's bigger than basketball. It's bigger than basketball court that we're on right now. And that was a message to the guys after the game last night. It's we're here to learn about life and grow and experience things, and we got to do it the right way. And so again, credit to those guys who are doing it the right way and showed up last night ready to compete.
Yeah, you want to get everyone on the same page going forward, and you'll have an opportunity to do that next week. You have a game on the road against Lake Odessa Lakewood on Tuesday, and then a tough game after that, Gull Lake, who's had a kind of a breakthrough year last year and have a couple of nice players, including Kai Watts and the Kristange kid. They score a lot of points, and that'll be a home game on Friday. Talk about those matchups and what you've kind of seen already as you kind of look ahead of those games. So look a little bit at Lakewood already. New coaching staff up there, so not quite sure exactly what we're going to get from them. But that's been a nice kind of back and forth series for us over the years. It's good competitive games usually. So we're looking forward to go up there on Tuesday. And then we'll experience kind of a short turnaround next week as well as we go on Thursday with Gull Lake. They're finished last year strong, kind of worked through some things and so built some momentum towards the end of last year. And it looks like they're starting out this year playing well already in that system. So it'll be a good challenge, both games for us next week. Do you like those situations, or you don't really want to deal with them early in the year where you have a short turnaround, a Tuesday to Thursday? Because sometimes it can give you some chance of preparation for the districts or whatever. You got a Monday, Wednesday, Friday situation possibly. But this time of year, you really want as much practice time as you can get before you play in these games. So how do you kind of deal with those short weeks where you play a Tuesday, Thursday situation?
Yeah, so, we got to be flexible. The guys got to be understanding and attentive. Makes that Wednesday practice that much more important because we don't have those 2 days in between. So I don't know that I have a preference, but we know what the schedule is, and so we'll be prepared to play.
All right, well, we'll talk about those games next week. Penfield's on the road at Lake Odessa on Tuesday, like you said, and they have a home game on Thursday. We'll get all the Penfield Panthers fans out at Penfield High School on Thursday to see them play Gull Lake, which will be a nice non-conference game between the two of the better programs in the area. It'll be a lot of fun. Thanks, Coach, for coming down this week, and we'll talk a little bit more next week, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Bill.
We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
Hey, you got a game this weekend?
Yeah, they're home.
Nice.
All right, we're back with our next Coach of the Morning already here. We have Coach Kimber at St. Phil Fighting Tigers. And we talked a little bit about already how St. Phil opened with Bronson on Tuesday, and I was down there to see that game. That was we were going for an opening night vibe there, and it was a nice crowd for that. And the two small school teams kind of going after it, had a lot of fun. And talk about opening night jitters and how you guys kind of had to get past that a little bit, and something that you kind of face every year. But the kids got past that fairly soon and had a nice big second half there.
Yeah, started the game off really slow. I think we can attribute that one to opening night jitters. And, the kids not necessarily it's hard to simulate what Bronson does on defense because they're so in your face, and they got 12, 13 guys on the team, and they'll sub in and out and put new guys in on your face, and they'll be, like I said, they're right in you. So, dealing with that right out of the gates, that kind of amplifies those opening night jitters because the kids don't have any breathing room to kind of settle in. But I thought we did a good job in the second half of kind of settling in and doing a much better job than what we did in the first half.
Bronson came away with a 66-48 win there, and like you said, they had the big lead, and you guys rallied in the second half, and things were happening for you there. What was working a little bit better in the second half for you that you liked?
Second half, we did a better job of taking care of the ball. No coach ever likes to say we've had 27 turnovers that night, but I think we had 18 or 19 of them in the first half. And so they had quite a few turnovers for touchdowns, and that kind of attributed to their lead growing. But the second half, we did a good job. Our defense was much better in the second half. We're trying to tinker a little bit with a man-to-man defense because we see zone all year long, and I just feel like with the athletes that we have, if we can get the man-to-man going towards mid-late season, it's going to be what's going to give us the best opportunity to come postseason run. So we want to really implement that early, and we went with what was comfortable with us in the second half with the 2-3 zone, and that seemed to work out better for us. And rebounding seemed to be an issue in the first half, and that kind of cleaned itself up in the second half as well.
You also had a little bit more pressure in the second half, I thought, and then were able to get some tip balls and get some loose balls a little bit and take advantage. That's always a big thing for you guys because you have that smaller gym, and you guys are used to that, and you can turn things around fairly quickly when that starts happening. Is that part of what you want to be able to do on a nightly basis?
Yeah, we like our top two guys in our zone, especially to put more ball pressure on the guy bringing the ball up because we don't want to give up any open shots. Even though it's zone, that's going to happen with the way it is with ball movement and everything. But Carter Diswick and Jackson Diswick did a great job up top. Colt Myers jumped a few passing lanes. So we do like to put a little pressure on when we're in our zone, which is kind of different. Not every team puts a lot of pressure when they're in a zone, but we like to do that.
You guys have some experienced guys on the floor, but there's still a lot of young players. You don't have hardly any seniors, and no seniors.
No
seniors
seniors
this year, and that's a situation that you faced the last several years in a row. So you're kind of getting used to that. But the no senior situation kind of gets offset by guys who have 2 or 3 years of varsity experience, but they're still younger. They're maybe 14 to 15 as opposed to 17, 18-year-old guys. Talk about those challenges and how you kind of face that and how you kind of deal with that in terms of getting ready for game time and what you do in practice there.
Yeah, no, we got a lot of younger guys, a lot of guys who they have basketball talent. They don't necessarily have the IQ of what a senior would be, but I would say the IQ our juniors and sophomores have are a lot higher than other schools' juniors and sophomores because they have that early varsity experience. Like we have a guy, Cole Myers. This is his 4th year starting as a varsity player. He's only a junior because, unfortunately, we're fortunate at the same time that we're able to bring up 8th graders because of our enrollment. But Colt's had 4 years of experience, so it's like having a senior out there with him, but. Things we do in practice just to kind of like implement that is we try to put a lot of like game like situations in. So I like to play fast, and so I'll say yesterday we did a lot of drills just getting up and down the court as fast as possible. As you saw on Tuesday, our weakness was our transition defense at times, and so we work a lot on that right now, just kind of cleaning up those things, but. Yeah, having our young team that has experience it's a little different. You'd like to have those seniors, but at the same time, it's something to look forward to because we do have a talented group.
You guys are talented, a little undersized, and that's going to be hurting this year a little bit. Colt Myers can bang down there a little bit, and Christian Gowana has some size in the paint for you, and he can move some people around and get some rebounds, but not very many people 6'3" and above in the hallways at St. Phil right now. So you guys have to play that way because of that size and in terms of that, and you want to make some things happen because of the size. Is that kind of why you choose that way?
Yeah. I feel like no matter what game we go to, we're probably going to be the shortest team. We don't have a guy over 6'3", but we also don't have a guy shorter than 6 foot. So all of our guys are kind of about the same height. I just want to touch on something because you said Christian Gaona. He did a heck of a job on Tuesday night of moving bodies out the way. It didn't show on the stat sheet, but that kid can move around pretty much anyone. He's a brick house. So we're looking to maybe slide a guard in front of him when he's moving a guy. You see clips of in college football running back moving a little running back
out there, yeah,
moving a running back all the way out to the sideline. And so I'm waiting for that time we get a little 5'9" guard on Christian going on a box out and Christian take him all the way to the stands. But he did a terrific job on Tuesday.
You also have the unique situation. You have triplets on your team, and a lot of times the ball is in the hands of one of those guys at all times, it seems like, and they also can look for each other a little bit. Do you see a little chemistry in that situation that's kind of been helpful often from time to time a little bit?
I do, especially come game day. They're great offensive-minded players. Love to see it a little bit more on the defensive end, but offensive-wise, yeah, they really know how to put the ball in the hole. They click on the offensive end a lot, and so that's something nice to have. And yeah, like you said, they're only sophomores, so we get a couple more years of that. They're a great group of kids to have.
We'll move ahead to next week, and you have a couple rivals coming, and both come into Sheila Guerra Stadium according to my schedule here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but Calhoun Christian, a rivalry that's been growing for St. Phil the last several years as those boys from both those schools maybe play with each other on football teams at times, and so you have Calhoun Christian coming, and then you have a Colin team that's been kind of the top of the standings in your league for the last couple of years, but they lost a lot of talent in the past year, so maybe you have a chance to get them. But talk about scouting report a little bit for Calhoun Christian first there.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go see Calhoun Christian play Maple Valley the other night. But it's going to be a challenge. They got some returning players. I think it's Micah Reed, Chandler Latimer. Can't think of the kid's name right now. Josh Andren. Then my good friend Matt Andren. This is his first year head coach, so that's going to be a fun little little matchup for us as friends, because I haven't had to coach against any of my personal friends. So that'll be exciting. Then with Colin on Friday, they still got Dalton Williams, and he's a tough guard no matter who you're going against. So that'll be a challenging game. We talk about our season-long goals, and one of our goals is to beat our rivals. So we get a nice little 2-spot next week against rivals, and hopefully we can get off to a really good start in that category.
Well, we'll talk about those 2 big games next week. It'll be a big week for St. Phil. They're playing at home, and get some big crowds there to watch Colin, Christian, and Colin, and be a busy week. And so it'll be a busy week next week talking to Coach's Corner about those 2 games. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Thanks, Bill.
We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning here after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
This is Bill Broderick, back with our next Coach of the Morning. You're here with Coach Bowling of Harper Creek Beavers. How's it going, Coach?
Good. Good morning, Bill.
Harper Creek got rolling on opening night on Tuesday, and we have you guys played on the road or at home against St. Joe, and they lost 53-47 to the Bears there, and then you had a quick turnaround and played on Thursday and went on the road, a long trip to Matawan on a Thursday night with the kids at school the next day, so I was a little bit disadvantaged, but came up short in a hard-fought game and lost 67-60 there. But how did the first week go for you, and did you learn anything about your team a little bit?
We learned a lot. The first week, I thought it was good and bad all at the same time. I was kind of disappointed in how we played on Tuesday, but then again, a lot of new faces, new experiences. But I thought we turned the ball over a little bit on Tuesday and made some mistakes that we hadn't even done in practice. But we didn't play quite as physically strong as we'd like to. We just came up short. But I think overall that was a good learning experience for us. We went back and watched some film, talked about some things, and then responded very well on Thursday against a very good Matawan team, and very competitive game. And if we play like we did against Matawan, I think we'll have some wins on the schedule this season. If we play like we do on Tuesday night, there won't be quite as many on the schedule. So I was pleased with our growth. Saw a lot of improvement from game 1 to game 2, and a lot of good things. Overall, very good things from all of our kids.
Only one senior on the roster that's playing right now a lot, right?
Yes, yep. Brady Vetty.
So that is an issue where you come into the season for the first game of the year, and that can be something to have to work through. Not a lot of experience on the floor. Did you see a little bit of that on Tuesday?
Well, the one thing is with all that, there's a lot of basketball experience, but you're right. There's not a lot of that, just that senior kind of, manhood about yourself. But they did okay. It's just an adjustment period, that first game on Tuesday, with understanding the physicality, speed, and strength, and some mistakes. You're not afforded so many mistakes at the varsity level, and your window for error is much smaller. And then we learned that obviously Tuesday, and then applied that on Thursday. So it was good to see those adjustments made and those things figured out quickly.
Coming in, you kind of know what you have from the preseason practices, or you think you know what you have.
Think you know what you have. That's the best way to say that.
And but then you also always kind of learn something when the things get real on the court there. Did you see some guys kind of step up that you liked on Tuesday, and some of those? Who are some of those guys?
Yeah, it was nice to see. Spencer Denny had a great game for us. So did Dylan Eversole. Those two guys played very well, I thought. On Tuesday night, did a real good job for us, and I was pleased. And they also played pretty well for us on Thursday too. So it was nice to see those guys have a good game. Brady Vetty may have not scored the ball a whole lot, but he played very well on the defensive end, and then knew what he was doing and got us spots offensively speaking on both nights as well. So it was nice to see that. But those guys, I think, played very well Tuesday, and Brady was good both nights. Well, they were both All three of those guys were good both nights, but to step up on their first night, that was nice to see.
Then on Thursday, you had a quick turnaround, only one day of practice really, and get that rolling, and then you go on the road and play a Mattawan team. What did you see in terms of improving from one game to another quickly that you really liked, and the players that kind of, now that they had their feet wet a little bit, that they went to another level for you?
I thought that we really improved with our physicality and the speed of the game, and I think that was all of our guys. Brady was pretty familiar with it, but all of our guys are new this year, with the exception of Brady, Trey, and Davion. And all those other guys stepped up and were able to apply that on Thursday. So the physicality improved, our ball pressure improved, our ability to take bumps and hits improved, and just to be able to play and understand the fact that you aren't allowed to make the same mistake repeatedly, and that was good too. So all those things I thought were big factors for us on how our improvement looked. As I said, it was a really highly competitive game. We didn't turn the ball over nearly as much. I think we only had 12 turnovers on that night. We rebounded the ball. We were physical at both ends of the floor. So I was really excited. I left Thursday night going home feeling pretty excited about things.
You're a guard-oriented team at this point, and you don't have a ton of size, but you're going to need some guys to kind of step up in the paint if you want to compete. You have some teams that have some size at Interstate 8, and some teams on your schedule that have some size also. What kinds of things are you looking for to kind of offset that, and who are the guys that you hope are maybe going to step up in that situation?
Well, we have three guys we kind of play in a little bit of a rotation there, and Zach Kitchen played very well defensively and offensively. He took a big step for us on Thursday, too. Had about a half dozen points and rebounded the ball. Committed some more fouls, which was good. Caden Sears in there too. He's new to us this year with his length. He's learning a lot. He had made a big growth, and Joe Cummins as well. And we kind of vary our looks a little bit when we need to. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to just roll up our sleeves and just understand we're a little undersized and just be kind of gritty down there. And that's how we'll have to survive it. But we'll do some things in the meantime, and give some teams multiple looks defensively to try to take some pressure off some of those guys as well.
You have a big week coming up next week. A couple teams that we see a lot of in this area, and you get them both at home next week, and it can be a lot of fun for basketball fans to kind of see these matchups. You're playing an Olivet team on Tuesday. You get them at home. And then you're coming back and getting your rival Marshall on Friday, and that's always fun whenever Harvard Creek and Marshall play. That's also at home. But Olivet has been a quality program the last several years. They're breaking in a new head coach this year, but they have Bo Lincoln at the guard, and he's a handful. You guys went down there and played a really good Olivet team on the road last year, and really that game kind of went down to the wire. A team that ended up 21-1 at the end of the year, and playing an Olivet team that has that kind of talent, what do you know a little bit more about them, and what do you want to kind of do against them?
Well, I think you said it best. They're pretty guard-oriented. They have a couple of those guys that were all league players coming back this year. What's nice for us is we played Mattawan Thursday, and they're very guard-oriented with a very strong big inside. I think Olivet's pretty similar to them. As a matter of fact, that Mattawan had a Hope College was there checking out their guard, and he was one of the best ones I've seen in a while. And so Bo Lincoln falls in line with that. So a lot of those things that we saw on Thursday will prep us for what we're going to see with the ability to shoot it and get to the basket, and how we're going to have to adjust defensively accordingly to them and their schemes. So that was kind of nice to have that fall right in line when it's not going to be a lot of different prep for us for Tuesday. But a lot of challenges back with some successful teams like that, and how they play. We're going to have to do what we can to stop them defensively. And I don't know if I want to use the word stop, but slow them down at times and make sure we take care of the ball and not give them extra possessions. So we got our hands full there with that matchup.
But then things get real on Friday. The Interstate 8 conference opens up, and a Marshall team that shared the conference title last year, they have a lot of length. I saw them last night play against Lakeview, and they can pose some problems for a team like yours. They also have some shooters from the outside. They're 1-1 to start the year. They had a big lead on Lakeview last night and kind of let that slip away. But Marshall and Harbor Creek is almost throughout the record books whenever they play each other anyway. But getting them to open the Interstate 8 Conference, that's a lot of fun for the fans. But is that fun for the head coach too?
Well, our preseason schedule here is a gauntlet, to be honest. I mean, we look at Mattawan, and then you throw in Olivet and now Marshall, and like you said it, you nailed it. There are going to be some big matchup issues for us with their size and their length. And that size and length, everyone thinks about, well, that's just big and long and lanky. Well, it's skilled too. So it's built, it's long, lanky, skilled. So that's tough. It's going to be tough for us. They'll probably be able to switch out a lot of things, which could, again, give us some issues for us offensively. But we just kind of have to, again, try to do what we do and try to do it a little better than what they do. And we have to keep them off the glass. That'll be a big key. And we'll have to go out on the perimeter and apply some ball pressure too, because of that length they can see and throw right over the top of us. We'll be smaller in every single position that night, and even when we sub and they sub, that's not going to change. So we're going to have to apply some ball pressure and be physical, and hope they miss some shots in the process, and hopefully maybe turn them over a little bit and get out and play in the open floor some.
Well, I got you here. I know you're been affiliated in the past years with the Coaches Association, and you're in the mix there. The last year and going into this year, people have the expanded schedule. They can play more than 20 games now, and that can clutter the roster or clutter the schedule a little bit, but also has been a positive. How have you seen that, and what do you like about that?
I think that's a big benefit. Now you can play one or two games through over Christmas break, and then you can also you don't have so many holes in the back end of the schedule, and that season doesn't seem so long. I think that's a real benefit, and then you can kind of have some more rhythm with your team. So I look at that as a positive. And it doesn't. You're not overextending your season with adding weeks to it. Just adding more competition dates, and it gives you, again, some more styles that you can see and compete against. So I think it's a good thing. I'm glad the state has finally done that, working in that direction. Hopefully they'll respond to some of the things also we have going on. We'd like to see some more additions other than, we have 10 football state champions. That's kind of a lot versus 4. Hopefully they hear some of our desires to expand and maybe have 6 classes in the rest of the sports. So those are some other things, hopefully, that we can continue to push. I know there's some also talk about some other things, some other rules changes coming. So maybe a shot clock potentially coming down the road. So we'll see. But I really like the 22-game schedule, and we are one of the few states that are really behind in the number of games played. So we're still at the back end of that. So if people think 22 might be a lot, it's really not when you compare it to other states around us.
Well, just some things to think about, and we'll keep pushing for that too, because I agree that we need some more divisions of basketball, more state champs there, a little bit closer to what football is doing. But Harbor Creek has a big week ahead of it. Olivet and Marshall next week. A lot of fun for Beaver fans to get ready. 2 home games. And we'll talk about those next week when we get back together again. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill. Good seeing you.
We're back with our next Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
All right, welcome back to Coach's Corner. This is Bill Broderick of the Battle Creek Enquirer. Coach Durant Crum of Battle Creek Central Bearcats wasn't able to join us this morning, but he didn't have a lot to talk about. The Bearcats did not play this week. We talked a lot about the Bearcats last week, or 2 weeks ago when we last met on Coach's Corner with Coach Crum, and we broke down his team then. But looking forward, they finally do get rolling this week. They play Jackson on the road on Tuesday. And then on Friday, coming to the Field House, one of their big rivals of the season, Kalamazoo Central, comes to town. So that'll be a big week for the Bearcats to get rolling. 2 tough opponents. first time out for the Bearcats, so that'll be a challenge for a really young team with only one returning starter. So the Bearcats have their hands full. But we're back here with Coach Wickman of the Lakeview Spartans, who had a fun time last night. Coach, how's it going?
Wonderful, Bill. Good morning.
All right. We had a nice crowd last night for a nice matchup. Marshall coming to town against Lakeview. Good Friday night crowd for boys basketball, which you always like to see. And I thought the pep band was nice there.
Yeah, everything. It was a good crowd. It was a good environment. It was fun. I think both student sections were pretty good, and we don't often see people standing on the track up above, but we had that last night. So pretty good, pretty packed house, and good way to start the season.
Pep band was sharp. They got going, but you guys weren't quite as sharp to start the game there. And, you got down.
Nice.
It was close. It was close throughout the first quarter and really the whole first half. But then they had a jump on you there at the end of the first half and started the second half and got down 10, and things were going the wrong way for you there. And really it looked like that was how it was going to go because things weren't really changing. But then you guys picked up the intensity a little bit, and you guys started to scrap a little bit there on the floor and really turned things around. And then once the momentum started going your way, that was a lot of good things for the Lakeview Spartans fans to see at that point.
Yeah, the pep band clearly had better practices than we did, I think, or maybe they have more seniors in the pep band or something that have been in the band before. But yeah, our start was less than stellar. I think our guys, we had some guys with deer in the headlights type looks on their faces, and I've been doing this a long time, and I always forget that even though you are in practice and you have these guys in the summer and you see them and you know their abilities, when you put 1,000 people in the stands and you turn the lights on and you put the scoreboard up and all that good stuff, it's a completely different ballgame. And so some guys that that do everything that you expect them to do every day in practice and on that night, in the beginning of a Friday night, it looks like they've never practiced before. So, but I'm really pleased with the fact that even through that tough start, we kept it close enough, through all that. And then when we kind of wore them down in the middle of the late third, with our defensive intensity, and then just kind of we obviously get out and go. And I felt like they, just looking out on the floor, they looked a little tired, and so when you put all that together, we'll take the win.
Marshall did play on Tuesday, and they came in with a game under their belt, and you guys were off on Tuesday. Coming back in can that be a situation that you have to kind of get over that hurdle a little bit for that thing, and maybe that's what we saw a little bit last night?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. That was my biggest worry going into the game last night, was the fact that we hadn't played and they had played, and so that first game jitter, whatever you want to call it, kind of they've already been through it, right? And so things were a little bit more smooth for them, I think. So I do attribute some of that to that, but in all honesty, if that would have been their first game and our first game, I don't know that the first half could have got a whole lot uglier, honestly. So,
well, things they got up 10, but the things did turn around. You had a really impressive 16-0 roll there, a spurt that had a lot to do with hitting some big shots, but more to do with how your defense was being played and getting some tip balls and some fast breaks and stopping them from getting what they wanted at that point. What did you see, and who did you see that kind of stepped up during that spurt that kind of helped you guys get over the hump there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think as we were, talking at halftime about what they were doing offensively, we just weren't executing what we wanted to do on defense. With the pick and roll, we were a little sloppy. With the handoff exchanges, we were a little sloppy. And I thought our guards really did a really good job, with Malachi and LeBron, and then Zach and Jake Kaharchek, and did a great job with switching and keeping people. They had a kid that was giving us fits in the first half with a right-hand drive all the time, and we talked about we got to make him go left, guys, and we talked about it all first half, but having that time to sit down at halftime, and so I think that was probably the key, was controlling their guards and making good switches and not having to their whole plan is to try to get two guys to guard one and then shoot the three, and we did a much better job in the second half of that. And then, when we started getting our hand on some balls in the passing lane, maybe some sloppy handoffs by them, and next thing you know, we got a couple breakaway layups, and I haven't been involved in too many 16-0 runs. That's a pretty, and I didn't, when you're in the middle of the game, you don't realize that, but when you mentioned it after the game, I thought, wow, that's a pretty impressive run. 16-0 is good.
What you really have going for you, and what we saw last night is that guard kind of foursome, I guess you could say, Malachi and LeBron and the Karchek twins. A lot of athletic ability, a lot of quickness, and a lot of speed on the floor all at the same time. Whenever you have whatever combination you're using at the time for those guys, and you want to maybe push that a little bit more going forward in terms of picking your spots and trying to have maybe three of those guys on the floor, or maybe all four at certain times when you kind of get into situations where you want it, or does that leave you guys maybe short on the other side?
I worry a little bit about having, because those guys are all small. Like, I mean, none of them are 6 foot. They're all 5'9", 5'10", and that doesn't diminish anything that they do. But when you talk about rebounding and things, that makes it a little bit more difficult. But and I also think, I thought Braden McGill played well last night. I thought Davis Barr played really well last night, and I thought Maddox Bishop played really well. And those are three of our big guys who, you may not see the stuff that they're doing as much because they're not making the steals and making the layups, but they had to adjust on the pick and roll as well, and clean up their part of it too. So, I think overall, and those three guys that I just mentioned are all fairly athletic as well. So I really like the athleticism of our group, and I think, we get after it. We play really hard, and we practice really hard.
Well, that size was not to diminish that myself, that size was important last night because Marshall's long, and they don't always go in the paint, but they sometimes drive into the paint, and your big guys were kind of keeping that from happening, and so they had to kind of worry about some of those outside shots, because your guys were kind of clogging up the paint that way, and that wasn't an option for them. But
right,
so that was huge for you guys, and that's something to work for going forward. But having one game in the first week of the season, how did that work for you in terms of getting extra practice time, and do you feel like you're a little bit prepared for the second week?
Yeah, so I was talking with Coach Miller last night before the game about that. We actually scrimmaged Marshall last week, or not last week, the week before. Was last week Thanksgiving? I'm losing track. So the week, that week. And so it was an interesting thing we did. We had a scrimmage Tuesday, and then we had another one Wednesday, which I've never done before. We back-to-back scrimmages. I wasn't sure how it would go, but when we got into practice Friday, we had a blueprint of here's what we need to do, right? And we had Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to try to get all that stuff taken care of. And so I thought it worked out pretty well. I think only having the one game, would I have liked to have played on Tuesday? Yeah, I think everybody wants to start the first day you can, but whatever. But I think we used it to our advantage, and that's a tribute to our kids of just, for high school kids to come into practice 5 days in a row is, with no game in there is asking a lot in this day and age. But they brought it every day, and I think the way we practice helps us with those stretches of struggle, and then also helps us when we get on a roll like we did last night of understanding and feeling confident.
That's really interesting. You said that you scrimmaged Marshall and then you came back and played them. Was that just something that just happened, or is that something you two coaches talked about, how that would be a unique situation for you? Or
well, honestly, we have a normal scrimmage that one team backed out of and kind of blew it up for everybody. And so we got into another scrimmage. Luckily, we had, Matt's always been good to us as far as, we scrimmage in the preseason. And so we had that one, and I was looking for another scrimmage, and we've scrimmaged Marshall before, and I wasn't even thinking, we play him the first game of the year. So I emailed him, and he said, yeah, let's scrimmage. And then, it is what it is at that point, right? I mean, it's not like there's a lot of secrets anymore anyhow. We have huddle. Everybody's got a film. And so, I wasn't too worried about showing them anything in the scrimmage or anything like that. But But yeah, we just both needed a scrimmage, and we decided to do it. And I think last year we played in the last game of the regular season, so maybe I was thinking in my mind that that's what we were going to do this year. And and then I look, but it is. You got to scrimmage. You can't just practice, because you got to see how your kids respond against other people.
We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with Coach Wickman and talk about next week a little bit after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
Yeah, we're back. This is Bill Broderick of the Valley Creek Enquirer. We're going to talk a little bit about Lakeview's week next week. They play at Coldwater and at Gull Lake, 2 games on the road, 2 games against teams with proud programs. Coldwater started out 0-2. They are the defending champs in the I-8. And Gull Lake's an up-and-coming program that played a lot better at the end of last year and had some momentum there. What have you seen from those teams yet? You had a chance to look at them yet? Or
I have not. I haven't. I've got some requests out for exchanging film with both teams, and we'll see what happens there. So I don't know anything about either of them yet. We spent a lot of time worrying about Coldwater last week, about Marshall last week, not Coldwater. Maybe I'll pick your brain after we get off the air here.
Like I said, Coldwater lost their big guy from last year, and they're coming back with a younger team, but they're a little bit worried about what they have there, and they started out a little slow, but they are defending champs, so they usually get things going. They started out slow last year and played a lot better, but Gull Lake is a team that you're a little bit more familiar with there, and they have Kai Watts and the first Ainge kid, and that's exciting for them. And we'll be talking a little bit more about them next week. With a big week for Lakeview, playing on the road twice, and it'll be fun for the Spartan fans to maybe get on the road and watch them play there. So we'll talk a little bit more about those 2 games, Coach, next week.
All right. Sounds great, Bill. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for everybody coming on and listening to Coach's Corner. We'll be back next week on WBCK 95.3 FM.